I'm sitting here in the chapel in the rectory, the other place where I often say private mass, usually on my day off, and wanted to continue this reflection on private masses. The other day I was FaceTiming with my family, and my 6-year-old nephew was surprised that I was still saying mass. You say mass with no people there? Why would you do that? And I think probably a lot of us kind of never thought about that or have that same sentiment. Yeah, why would you do that? Well, again, because it's a prayer that I'm offering, and it's the prayer of Christ himself. And so it's always efficacious, always a good, most powerful, infinite merit as pouring down. And I guess the next question is, well, what's different when a priest says Mass by himself? What does he do differently? Have you thought about it? Well, the answer is almost nothing is different. I still put all the vestments on. I still light the candles. I still say all the prayers. Everything, I still read the readings, because all of it is prescribed. It's all part of the ritual. It's not done just for you. It's done on behalf of the whole church. And like I said before, the whole of the Mass is offered for everyone, everywhere. It's not just for the people sitting in the pews. And right now that's all the more evident because there are no people sitting in the pews. So when I say Mass by myself, I try to say it exactly like I say Mass with people. Maybe the better way to say that is, when I say Mass with the people, I try to say it exactly as I say it when I'm by myself. That is, I try to enter in with the same prayer and devotion that I do when I'm praying in private. Because ultimately it is a prayer. I'm trying to pray. I'm not actually doing something up there in front of you. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not even a speaker. I'm a prayer. I'm trying to pray. That's what the priest is trying to do, or should be trying to do, is trying to pray. Now, maybe we've seen priests who don't really look like they're trying to pray. I remember seeing priests who they're saying the words, and the words start like this, right? Father in heaven, we come before you, and they're looking right at the people. Father in heaven, we come before you, and I'm thinking, wait, who is he talking to? Is he talking to Father in heaven, or is he talking to me? Well, I think this priest might not get it, or there's this distraction of the people, right? It can be distracting to have 500 people staring at you while you're trying to pray. So maybe this is a moment where we priests can come back to that fundamental purity of our prayer, that this is something that we're not doing just for you, but we're doing for us. We're trying to enter deeply into this prayer of Christ. I remember, and I know several priests, before I was ordained, that really helped me to realize this. One of them, Father Mike Schmitz, he was up in Duluth where my dad was living, and the way that he says Mass is really beautiful. The way that he prays the prayers directed to the Father, you would think that God the Father was really in the room. When he speaks to the people, you can tell he's speaking to you, and when he's not, it's very evident that he's speaking to God and that he really means it. Bishop Andrew Cousins also was very inspiring for me during seminary. He never looked like he was putting on a show. You always felt like you were entering into his prayer. He was drawing you close to his prayer. The intimacy of his connectedness with Jesus Christ, the high priest. You almost felt like a fly on the wall, like, ooh, I get to be close to this really intimate moment that he's having with the Lord. I get to draw close to that. How beautiful. And hopefully we've all had moments like that. We've seen priests who really look like they're praying. And I think we can help the priest in that by our own prayerfulness. It's hard for a priest when he looks out of the congregation and people either look bored or look like they don't want to be there, or look like they're just waiting for you to do something, entertain me. But if the priest looks out and sees people who are intent on prayer, and usually what that means is they're not actually looking at the priest, unless he's preaching, of course, but they're looking past the priest. They're looking towards the tabernacle. They're looking towards the crucifix. They're recognizing that what the priest is doing doesn't stop at him. When I'm at the altar, my prayer is going beyond me. If you're just looking at me as I'm praying to the Father, I think that our focus is misdirected. And actually, the priest should be propelling us past him into the tabernacle, up to the crucifix, into the heart of Jesus. Sometimes this is hard to do, but this is the goal. And I think that right now we have this opportunity to refocus. Because as you sit and perhaps watch Mass on TV, how are you entering into that? Where is your focus? Are you just watching the priest do something, or are you uniting yourself to the thing that he is doing? It's interesting that Saint Clare of Assisi is the patron saint of television, because apparently one Christmas Eve she was ill and she wasn't able to go to the Christmas Eve Mass, and she stayed at home. But when her sisters returned, they found that she could tell them everything that happened at that Mass, because she saw it. She had a vision of actually seeing the Mass, like she was transported there. And so now we have this same opportunity. We have this vision in front of us on the television or on the computer that is allowing us to participate in some way. But our participation can't be this mere watching. It can't be this mere passivity. Like I'm letting them do their thing and I've clocked my hour and now I'm done. But it really has to be a means of elevating my heart to the heavens, elevating my heart to God. We think of that part in the Mass right before the Eucharistic prayer starts. Lift up your hearts. We lift them up to the Lord. Well, this is the goal of our Christian walk at all moments and all times, to lift up our hearts to the Lord. And whether I'm there physically present, or if I'm watching something that's happening across town or across the country or across the world, I can still lift up my heart. This is our goal. This is the goal of the priest. I want to lift my heart up. And as I'm lifting up my heart, I want to be able to pray the Mass in such a way that you are also inspired to lift up your hearts. Let's do that. Let's lift up our hearts to the Lord.